So Earfuzz is meant to be just that. Earfuzz is fuzzy, a lot of people at Plays and Players joke about my love of acronyms and naming things, and I actually particularly think that name is one of my strokes of genius, because it allows people to not know what they're coming into and allows it to really be its own shape each time. And we've discovered through a lot of trial and error that we're not a program, this residency, where you're building for the product that people watch once every 2 months, but you're building towards an end goal, and wherever you are in the moment of your process is what you bring to Earfuzz. So we had a lot of people over the years who were distracted by spending the whole 2 months before this Earfuzz performance, figure out what they're going to do for this. And so oftentimes I'll show up an hour before the performance, which is when our artists come for Earfuzz, not knowing what anyone is going to be doing during that time. And that's what's really exciting and raw. And I think a unique challenge, again, one of the things we try to do is unique challenges for artists to get in front of a group of people and not be there with a intended performance that you have prepared. What we saw tonight in our first of 4 segments, our first segment's called Play Another Part, where theater artists get a chance to try on a different kind of theater hat. And you can tell from just what I'm saying there that is a warm-up, right? You know, if you really want to experiment who you are as a person, you got to go very far afield. But our first step is just think about theater in a different way, what other kind of approach you can have. And you can see that in the work at Earfuzz. You know, if you come to the first of our 4 Earfuzzes, you see a lot of people sort of dipping their toe into identity questions, dipping their toe into trying new styles. And there's a lot of laughter and a lot of sort of casual conversation easily had afterwards. By the time you come to the last Earfuzz, there's a lot of silence, often tears, and a lot of really hushed, intimate conversations afterwards. And it's really nice to see that year and year again really has paid off as part of the joy of, again, not even knowing as an audience what your relationship to this event's going to be.
I would say it's really about trying new things. And having fun with those things, and again, taking those risks. What is it about? I have yet to see exactly. It's always constantly evolving. But I think for a lot of the artists involved that we will probably see a lot of growth from them. And that's always exciting to see.
No, I think it definitely has, but it's interesting considering that we're just sort of still getting ourselves off the ground. A lot of what I've experienced so far is that the residency is asking me to really go into big questions, big artistic questions, and also to sort of consistently do things that are not what I habitually do, what I'm used to doing as an artist. So, like the piece I did tonight was not something I would have really had the space to do or an audience for otherwise.
I'm here!
So those prompts are really pushing me in new directions, which is really exciting, and not a thing that I've found in very many other places in the artistic world. In Bangladesh, you don't use forks and knives. You eat with your right hand and only your right hand. I remember watching my father do this as a child. First he would load up a plate, rice of course, usually basmati, then dal, bazi, a drumstick of chicken that had been baked black and crispy, sometimes a hard-boiled egg, chunks of goat and beef kebab, discrete sections of the plate. I've been interested in... I've had a sort of very avant-garde education in theater and did a lot of physical theater and weird stuff. But recently I've gotten much more interested in story, in true story, in stories drawn from interviews, and then in autobiographical narrative. So the piece I did tonight was a story about my relationship to my father, specifically through food and eating. And at the end of the piece, I covered myself with turmeric, as you know, so I'm still a little yellow stained.
We started talking about the concept of solo performance because that's not my thing. And I think years ago, long story short, I kind of got the impression that every actor should have their own solo show, which is a long story that I won't even bother getting into. So I've always kind of had that in the back of my brain, but I've never had anything to do. I'm not a playwright. I've written 2 10-minute plays when I was in conservatory, and they were terrible. I feel like in order for something to be theatrically viable, it has to have a point of view that's interesting. Something has to occur, or it has to be meaningful in some way. There has to be a reason for people to want to go and see it. And, you know, the girl who grew up in a family in New Hampshire with 2 dogs and a cat and a brother and a mom and a dad who are still married is not very exciting.
I think I would say that I think that residencies like this are a really good idea. I think they're a really good thing for theaters to create, especially because we live in a climate these days our culture as a whole, and specifically the theatrical culture, where it's sometimes very difficult for new and emerging artists to get themselves off the ground, especially what with the weight of loan debt becoming what it has been out of college. And so having a chance to connect to a theater in this way as a young person pretty recently out of college is a really exciting thing, and a thing that I hope to see out there more often.
The residency is an 8-month program, and we are in our 5th year, and we're going to be accepting applications. We accept applications every summer for actors and playwrights. We hope to expand the residency very soon to include designers, directors, and dramaturgs as well. And so Plays&Players.org is a great place to go for that. And we do also continue to look for people to support our residency. Just tonight we had a wonderful couple that has come to a lot of Plays and Players shows. They adopted one of our residents, which is something you can do for a donation, and get to know them a little bit better and really sit inside their journey with them, which again is something Plays and Players does especially, where it just allows you real access for your support to connect with our artists.
Final comments, I would say that I think trying new things, whatever it is, new residencies, programs, is always valuable for anyone, and it's always good to put yourself out there, even if you feel uncomfortable. Like, for example, during an interview about Earfuzz. That's advice from myself.